Universe Classics fans, I have Camo Khan. He is a Power Con exclusive. He's also the evil camouflage master of snakes. It also says Power Con exclusive on the side here too. You may be asking yourself, what is Power Con? Power Con is a convention that centers around Masters of the Universe. It was held in LA on June 4th and 5th, and they had a couple exclusives that were available, one of which was Camo Khan. We do get a bio on the back which explains why this version of Kobra Khan looks different and he has a different paint app and different arms. Before I go into the reasoning behind all of that, I do want to explain that there is a different version of Kobra Khan that existed back in the 1980s that was released only in Argentina. This version was called Kobra Khan Camuflado, which I'm totally butchering that name. He had a different paint scheme and he had hands that were very similar to Buzz-Off or Clawful. Many people in the US didn't even know he existed until the internet became something widespread where people can compare all of their different figures. And I'm glad that Matty Collector decided to do this variant on Kobra Khan, or in this case as an exclusive at PowerCon. But anyways, let's go and go through the bio on this. Camo Khan, real name, Khan of Clan Cobra. After Zodak decapitated King Hiss, Kobra Khan assumed command of a group of the Snake Men and feigned surrender to Skeletor. Following Skeletor's successful coup against King Randor, he enlisted Khan's group, now called the Diabolical Snakes, to steal several magical artifacts, including the Spellstone of King Helios and the Polarizer of Shezar, which would help Skeletor breach Castle Grayskull. To boost his effectiveness, Skeletor enchanted Khan with temporary new powers of camouflage, a more potent form of his hypnotic mist, and the mystical golden claws of crushing. After Khan did Skeletor's bidding, he used his new powers to infiltrate Skeletor's throne room, crush his skeleton guards, and seize the Havoc Staff to help a regenerated King Hiss become even stronger during his recovery at the Temple of Serpos. Look at this picture right there. I'm really impressed with it. I really like it. I wish we had a full-on comic book that was just based on the classic series. Oh, I guess we can count some of the mini comics that have been released, although that doesn't really have a whole lot of the history, and it leaves out so much. Anyways, though, I want to open this guy up right now. Here he is! Oh my god, he's really cool looking. Like most of the other Snake Men, now you can clearly see that he's got the snake logo on his chest. Like many of the versions of the Camo Khan that came out from the Top Toys version of Camo Khan, which Top Toys was the brand of Masters of the Universe that came out from Argentina, but many of them came out with just this club. Some came out with other weapons, but this seems to be the most common weapon that he came with. Some have seen him with an axe that's similar to Buzz-Off, and others have seen the club a different color. Here you can see a close-up of his claws. They only move at the wrist. They don't open and close. There are some versions that came out from the 1980s where Kobra Khan has his regular arms, but I'm very glad that the exclusive version here has the other type that came out, which does have the Buzz-Off claws instead. He has different patches of black that's being painted on here in different places, not only on his front, but also on the back as well. His belt is also gold alongside his claws, also his boots as well. I'll do a side-by-side comparison with the regular Kobra Khan that came out, but you can see that his eyes are yellow. In the regular version, his eyes are white. His overall green scheme is somewhat darker too. I don't know if you can tell right here, but he's also got some red that's painted into his nose. This is a great figure overall. I'm really happy with the way they did it. I'm also really happy with the fact they just made him at all. Only hardcore fans were really interested in this figure being made. Some don't even know that he exists, especially if you didn't follow some of the history and some of the other figures that have been released in other countries. Let's go through his articulation. First, he has movement in his head, upper body movement, waist movement, upper shoulder movement, bicep movement, elbow movement, I already mentioned his wrist movement, upper leg movement, knee movement, boot movement, and ankle movement. Really happy with the way this guy came out. Overall, I mean, I'm loving the paint scheme. In fact, I kind of like this one better than I like the regular Kobra Khan. If you can get the 1980s version of him, I highly recommend it, but he's very expensive. If you can find him somewhere where he's somewhat cheaper, then hey, go for it. Here's the regular Kobra Khan for comparison. Like I said, you can definitely tell that this one is much lighter in a green scheme as compared to this one, and you can see the different hands that are being used between the two of them too. If you look at their faces here, you can see the white in the regular version's eyes. Also, there's more red around the mouth. Finally, here's Camo with some of the other Snake Men figures that I've gotten. Alan, thank you so much for picking this guy up for me. Like I said, in order to have gotten him, you would have had to have ordered him from PowerCon or bought him from an online vendor. Unfortunately, though, you would have had to pay somewhat of an inflated price, but he's one of the few figures that I think the inflated price is totally worth it. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me in this toy review. Be sure to check out my Patreon site, my social media sites, my websites, and everything else out there. Peace, love, namaste, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.